All right, it is game number 1 here between the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks from Madison Square Garden. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this series for a while. I've always thought the Indiana Pacers were going to Eastern Conference Finals. You can hear me saying this all the way back in January and February. I've always been on Indiana all year long. We correctly predicted them to get past the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll see what I think about this series in just a few moments, folks. But before we get into it, gotta get some things out the way. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, again, for daily NBA predictions and best bets. Timberwolves Thunder Game 2 best bet and predictions will be out immediately after this game concludes between the Pacers and Knicks. So for every single conference finals best bets and predictions video that I'm doing, again, for the conference finals, they're going to be out the night before because I have the odds out early. I can make the videos ahead of time, unlike the other series where, again, that was difficult to do. So as soon as this game ends from the Garden tonight or tomorrow on Wednesday, we'll have Timberwolves Thunder Game 2 up. Same can be said about the day after. Again, that's just kind of how we're going to do things instead of posting them in the morning this time around. And also, folks, go make sure to check out our daily MLB best bets early on the channel. Again, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. Okay. Pacers, Knicks, Game 1. I'm going with the Indiana Pacers. Okay. Nothing changes for me. Nothing changes. I'm still going Indiana in, dare I say, 5 games. Maybe 6. I'll be generous. I'll give them a 6th game. But I honestly think 5 is kind of how I'm seeing this. I don't know. I think Indiana might win both in New York. Nah, I'll say Indiana wins Game 1. I think New York wins 2. And then I think Indiana doesn't lose a game from there. I kind of want to say Indiana in 4. That's a little aggressive. Guys, I just think they outmatch the Knicks. And I said this yesterday with the Thunder. I think the Pacers outmatch everybody. I think it's absolutely crazy. They're plus 750 to win the NBA Finals still, and they have the worst odds to win the championship. I quite confidently think they're winning the entire thing. Again, I think OKC is a tough test. I think they are. I think OKC is great. I know SGA is the best player in the sport. And a lot of this depends on how Indiana continues to shoot. But if they just play like they have the first 2 series, I don't see anybody beating them, which is a tough ask because they played tremendously early in this postseason. But I don't think the Knicks are good enough. I know they're going to have that Madison Square Garden crowd in front of them, but the simplest way I can put this in terms of just both Game 1 and the entire series is that, simply put, the New York Knicks did beat the Boston Celtics in 6 games. 2 out of those 4 wins, for the New York Knicks to start that series in Boston were 2 of the worst games the Boston Celtics have ever played this year. Game 4 that they win, I'll give it to them. Really good victory for the Knicks. They lose Game 5 to a Tatum-less Celtics team. And then Game 6, okay, you beat no Tatum Celtics in the Garden like you're supposed to. The Knicks have had games, especially against the Celtics, where they just have not shot the ball well. I think the best example of that's Game 5. They shoot 35% from the field in Game 5. And yes, I said it at the time, and I will still say it now. I think the penalties, the fouls that were called on the New York Knicks took over that basketball game. I completely understand that. But there were so many times in that series, man, especially Game 2, the Knicks shot 29% from the three-point line, and they still won the game. They won it by 1 point. And it took all-time collapses from the Celtics. It took the Celtics to shoot all-time horribly from beyond the arc. On top of that, they needed to come back and blow 20-point leads. And that's what it took for the Knicks to win Game 1 by 3 points and Game 2 by 1 point. And then again, down the stretch of the series, Game 4 is by far the best game the Knicks have played all playoffs long. And don't get me started about that Detroit series, guys. They struggled with the Pistons. With all due respect to the Pistons, the Pacers would have beat that team in 5 games, if that. With all due respect. That's a young team. Again, it was a fun series with that crowd in Detroit. But that was too close for a Knicks team, I think, personally, that should have just been on another level if you're here in the Eastern Conference Finals. But again, I think the easiest way to put this, though, is look at the way the Knicks played in Games 1 and 2. Right? They shot 29% from the three-point line in Game number 2, right? They won because the Celtics were all-time bad. The Pacers will not be all-time bad. And Indiana, I don't care what you want to say about last year. Oh, okay, injuries. 100%, right? That's a 100% a thing. Indiana knows how to go into New York and win. They know how to go in the Garden and win. I said this a couple weeks ago. I'm going to say it again. I think Tyrese Haliburton is going to I think he's going to exceed the levels of hate that Trae Young ever had in the Garden, which I think is very difficult to do because that was at the start of the Knicks' resurgence, right? When they were starting to become playoff threats again. Trae Young came into their building and beat them in a Game 7. Well, Tyrese Halliburton's already done that once, and I don't think this one's even going to get to 7. That's why I want to say 5 instead of 6, because I think the Pacers are going to end this series and win the Eastern Conference and go to the NBA Finals after beating this New York team on their home court. I firmly believe this, guys. Look at the way the Pacers shoot. How are the Knicks going to be able to keep up? You're telling me the Knicks outshoot the Pacers 4 out of 7 times? No. Hell no. The only way the Pacers don't win this series, and I'm serious about this, is if Jalen Brunson's whistle takes over the series and the NBA puts in a call to put the Knicks in the NBA Finals because they haven't, been since, 2000, I think? They haven't won since 72. That's the only way the Knicks win this series, is if the foul calls take over this series, kind of like what they tried to do with the Cavaliers and all the free throws they shot with Donovan Mitchell and company. That's the only way Indiana does not beat the Knicks in a 7-game series, is if the whistle and the refs take over the games. I'm completely serious with you. I don't know how the Knicks are going to be able to stack up with the Pacers. The Pacers run the entire game. They're too fast for Indiana. I'm a little bit concerned with Cat, I'm not going to lie, because Cat has kind of dominated the Pacers all year long. That's the one thing I'm kind of scared about. But I think he'll be fine. Indiana's going to run against New York this entire series. And I just don't know how the Knicks are going to be able to keep up, again, through 7 games. They have a 7-man rotation. Mitchell Robinson, yes, he's a great rebounder. He's not all that useful, though, against a 5-out team like Indiana. He's really not. Because okay, now he's got to guard Miles Turner at the three-point line. I know he had a great block. I think that was against Horford. Was it Horford? In Game 6, where he rushed out to the perimeter and made a crazy block. That's great. I don't think the Indiana style of play really favors what Mitchell Robinson does defensively. I'm just going to be honest with you. So I think to a point, Robinson's going to play, but I think this kind of puts the Knicks in a 6-man rotation. Yes, Mitchell Robinson will play. I think his minutes will be lower than they were in the semifinals. So from there, okay, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Cat, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart are going to have to play 40-plus minutes in every single game against an Indiana team that's going to run, and against an Indiana team that really runs a 9-man rotation. They runs a 9 to 10-man rotation where their entire bench unit will play. Even in the closest games, Game 5 against the Cavs, they had 10 guys play. Obi Toppin plays huge minutes off the bench. Thomas Bryant can somehow shoot the ball consistently now. He plays big minutes. TJ McConnell's going to facilitate and coming off the bench. Benedict Matherin's going to play minutes. And for as much as I hate it, Ben Shepherd's going to play minutes too. I don't think he should be playing minutes, but Ben Shepherd hit some big shots in that series, some big 3-pointers against the Cavs. I'll give him some credit. But you're going to see a fully rested Indiana team. An Indiana team that's been off for quite a bit now. If Pascal Siakam continues to play like he did in Game 5, again, that was the biggest thing in that Indiana-Cleveland series for me, was that, all right, Indiana's winning games without Pascal Siakam, their actual only all-star this season, being a factor. What happens when Siakam does start to hit his shots? And what happens when Siakam starts to finish at the rack, right? And Tyrese Halliburton, who is a top 10 player in basketball. Nobody's telling me otherwise. Halliburton is top 10 in the sport. When he is on, people forget he's been dealing with injury since last season. He was injured playing Team USA. He was injured the first half of the season. That's why since January 1st, the Indiana Pacers now have the best record in basketball, I think, besides OKC. But Halliburton in that Game 5, 6 or 10 from the three-point line, that's what he's going to do to you. He dominated Cleveland. He dominated them. And if the whistle does not get in the way of the Indiana Pacers here, they will beat the New York Knicks in either 4 or 5. I will give the Knicks 1 game. I think it's a 5-game gentleman's sweep for the Indiana Pacers. I called it last series, and obviously that was a much more outlandish take, a couple weeks ago when I said they were going to beat the Cavs in 6 games. I think a lot of people are starting to catch on to what Indiana does and how well they shoot the basketball. But guys, Indiana is going to shoot 45%, I believe, in almost every single game in this series. I don't care, the Knicks defense is better than Cleveland. It is, but I firmly believe that's just a Pacers thing. Andrew Nembhard is a historical playoff riser. Okay. Aaron Nesmith, who didn't even have a great tail end of that series, hit some big shots as well. Miles Turner looks like an elite 3-point shooter. He is rivaling. He is going up against Karl Anthony Towns right now as looking like one of the best three-point shooting bigs of all time. At least in this postseason, Miles Turner's looked like that. I mean, I think everything's really adding up for the Pacers at this point. I just think it is. And my biggest thing is, I think the Knicks, again, I'll give them one game. Because they're going to have, I think Indiana's going to have one game where they don't shoot the ball that well. Okay, I think they're going to have one of them. I think that might be game 2. I know for a damn fact the Pacers are not going back to Indiana down 2-0. That is not happening. They're either going back to Indiana up 2-0 or it's going to be 1-1. 100%. And I think they're going to get game 1. Okay, they've been off for quite a bit. And the way the Pacers play, you need to be conditioned to play this team. You need to be ready to run the entire game. Again, the small things. Such as, okay, the Knicks score, Indiana's taking that ball out immediately, and Tyrese is immediately running down the court. That's just, in the way the Knicks are, with Tibbs, these guys play 40-plus minutes. They're not going to be able to keep up the entire game with the Pacers. They're just not going to be able to. Again, Jalen Brunson has been elite this playoffs. I will give Jalen Brunson all the credit. He's been great, Jalen Brunson has. Is that going to happen in this series, though? I mean, maybe. Maybe Jalen Brunson will still be great. But then, all right, like, hell, again, Brunson had so many bad shooting games early in the series against the Celtics. I look at games 1 and 2, it's like, how did the Celtics lose to New York? How? Yeah, the games were in Boston, and yes, Indiana's going to go to New York for the first 2 games of the series, but I just don't see it. Guys, Indiana is twice the team Boston is. At least Boston was in this postseason. Okay, even with Tatum, yes, and I said this a while ago, like Indiana, I wanted New York over Boston, because I personally felt like if the Celtics got going, and again, if Derek White's hitting his shots and Jaylen Brown's acting like a true number 1, they can be really dangerous. Because if they get hot from the 3-point line, okay, that can be trouble for Indiana. Hell, look at the Eastern Conference Finals last year, which, by the way, all 4 games were competitive. Indiana blew leads in all 4 of those games, and 2 of them, Tyrese Halliburton didn't even play. Okay, so that series, yes, it's a sweep. That's a lot closer than you think. Indiana was this close to winning game 1, and that entire series changes, okay? Anyways, I was more scared of Boston for Indiana than I was New York. Just because, okay, even without Tatum, it's like, all right, if this team gets going, they're kind of tough. And if Porzingis gets fully healthy, recovers from AIDS, sorry, I don't know what he has. Okay, some people went at me for saying I thought, isn't hepatitis an STD? I don't know. It just, gonorrhea, I'm sorry, okay, or syphilis. I don't know. Okay, this isn't a sex ed video. When they're at full strength, yeah, they're tough. They're tough to deal with. New York, Indiana's just going to outplay this team. They're going to outscore them in every single game. They're going to run on this team, and I just don't think the Knicks are able to keep up. It's as simple as that. The only saving grace I personally believe for the New York Knicks is going to be the Jalen Brunson whistle. That's it. He's going to hit some big shots, yes. Mikal Bridges, he's been good. He's been playing big minutes. Oh boy, when he's playing 45 minutes every single game against this team, ooh, buddy. That is tough defensively, and that is going to be tough on the other side trying to hit his middies. OG Anunoby, get ready to run. Josh Hart, Josh Hart will be great. That's just what he is, okay? Josh Hart could play all 48 minutes every single game, and he'd be fine. Okay, that's the one guy I'm like, all right, Josh Hart's going to play good defense. But I just think the Pacers outmatch them. And Halliburton at his best, ooh, man. This team's on a mission, man. I think the Pacers, again, this is a team that's always been looked at, like, since, again, the last 3 eras of Indiana Pacers basketball. The Paul George era, the Victor Oladipo era, and the Tyrese Halliburton era. They've always just been a team that's, okay, they're a 4 or 5 seed almost every single year. They're going to be in the playoffs, but they're never truly a title threat. Well, now back-to-back seasons with Eastern Conference Finals appearances, and I firmly believe the Pacers know that this is their time right now. And I made the bold claim a couple weeks ago, because of the Tatum injury, guys, the Pacers are probably going back-to-back to the finals. I think they're going back next season as well. I would love if Giannis could come play for this team, but obviously that's not going to happen. It'd be a perfect fit, I'm just saying. But you know, I think the East is kind of clear for Indiana now. It really is. It is clear for them for the next 2 seasons. And again, I think the question we need to ask now is, historically, where will Tyrese Halliburton be, you know, in the next 5 years? Because I think the Pacers are winning the championship still this year. I love Shea. I'm a huge Shea guy. I just think the matchup, I think, favors Indiana a lot more. They're going to outshoot every team, I think. And it starts in game 1 here with the New York Knicks. So take your plus money where you can get it. I believe series winner Pacers is plus 160, I think. I absolutely love that line. I love plus 750 for the Pacers to win the NBA championship. And I love this game 1 line as well. Plus 155 for the Indiana Pacers. There is a chance they sweep. I need to watch this game 1, and I'll tell you whether or not I think they win game 2 or not, okay? That's the one where I'm like, could go either way. If they lose today by some stretch of the imagination, or they lose game 1, then they're definitely winning game 2. Again, they're not going home down 2-0. But even if they do, again, like, doomsday scenario, they were down 2-0 last year against the Knicks and still won the series. So, I'm just saying, this team will beat the Knicks, and they are going to go to the NBA championship, NBA finals, and they're going to win the NBA championship, okay? It is that simple. Indiana wins. How are you going to be able to match this squad? How are you going to be able to match Halliburton, Nembhard, Turner, Nesmith, and Siakam? You're just not. They're not going to, the Knicks are not ready. They're not going to be able to play with this pace. And the thing is, the Pacers bench unit buys them time. Because, yeah, they only play 15 minutes a night, but my goodness, does it give the starters a break? Because Mathurin, McConnell, Bryant, Toppin, these are solid guys off the bench who give you great minutes. Every team should fear Indiana. Nobody plays like them. Give me Pacers game 1. Pacers win the series as well. Folks, thank y'all for watching our NBA predictions and best bets for game 1 here in Madison Square Garden between the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. We'll see you tomorrow again for Thunder Timberwolves game 2 and our MLB best bets as well. Folks, thank y'all for watching. And